the concept gratuity. Gratuity is amount which is paid by the employer to employee the employee got retired from the service, and it's a kind of recognition which is paid by employer employee for the service which is rendered to the organization. That gratuity will be paid to employee only during the time of retirement after completing so many years of service. So that employee will be eligible to get the salary, get the gratuity amount from the employer. And here, not all the employees are covered under the gratuity, and only few employees, it means few organization covered under the gratuity. So we have in India, we have the act called Payment of Gratuity Act, which is passed in the year 1972. So if they comes under the Payment of Gratuity Act, they are covered, and if the organizations are not under the Payment of Gratuity Act, they are not covered under the Payment of Gratuity Act. And mainly regarding the tax treatment we discussed today, India we have the Payment of Gratuity Act, and also along with that some other provisions related to the statutory provisions which are related to gratuity payments, and same as we have Income Tax Act. In the Income Tax Act, section 10 subsection 10 is that gratuity is exempted up to certain limit. It means in Income Tax Act under section 10 there are many payment of gratuity. It means many sorry, not only a payment of gratuity, there are many other incomes which are exempted. Few incomes are completely exempted, few incomes are partly exempted, few incomes are not exempted. So we have such kind of exempted incomes and taxable incomes. And when it comes to section 10 subsection 10, here payment of gratuity, it means any employee receives gratuity from the employer. So that amount, how much he receives the amount, that amount is only partly exempted, only partly exempted. This payment of gratuity, it means amount what employee receives from the employer, is not completely taxable and it is not completely exempted. So it is called as partly, it means partially exempted, partially taxable. It means partly some amount. If they receive 5 lakh rupees as a gratuity, out of that 5 lakh rupees, only certain amount, only few, it means some amount, few amount, few rupees what they receive amount as a gratuity will be exempted, remaining will be taxable. And that provisions are explained under section 10. That provisions are explained under section 10 and subsection 10 of Income Tax Act. Section 10 subsection 10 of Income Tax Act explains regarding the provisions which need to be made, which need to be allowed to employees. So the meaning of gratuity is nothing but retirement benefit. Gratuity is a retirement benefit given by the employer, the employee, the service what he rendered in the organization. Many employees will be working in many organizations for so many years. During the time of retirement, when they retire from their service, the employer need to give, or employer will give gratuity in the terms of cash for recognizing their work in the organization, and that money is called as gratuity. So when it comes to the tax treatment, under Income Tax Act of 1961, under Income Tax Act of 1961, some, it means some portion that is partially exempted and partially taxable. And to claim that, it means to assess that or to calculate that, we need to procedure which is provided under section 10 subsection 10 of Income Tax Act, and it is classified into two different ways. One is government employee, another one is non-government employee. So government employee one provision and non-government employee another provision. Government employee, it is completely exempted. If any employee is working as a government employee, the government departments, the government organizations, then what amount he receives during the time of retirement, that amount will be exempted, completely exempted. He no need to pay tax on that on that gratuity amount he receives. But when it comes to the non-government, here any employee who receives amount as a gratuity, that is again further classified into two different aspects. So one is covered under the payment of gratuity and not covered under the payment of gratuity. Covered under the payment of gratuity and not covered under the payment of gratuity act. That act was passed in the year 1972. So here partial amount is taxable and partial amount is exempted in both cases. So next we'll see the tax treatment only specifically related to the covered under the payment of gratuity act and not covered under the payment of gratuity act. And this is the format for computation of taxable gratuity related to the any employee or organization covered under the Payment of Gratuity Act. And here Payment of Gratuity Act 1972, as per this the format. Here we need to compare the amount, actually what he receives as a gratuity, along with the three other, means along with the two other amounts which need to be calculated and compared. Then which is minimum amount? Here it is mentioned least of the following is exempted, which is the minimum amount. That minimum amount is exempted from tax. So there out of three, first one is gratuity what he receives. So this point and this point, first point and the actual gratuity amount received, this both will be same. This both will be same. Then the next point is actually the point explanation point is like 15 days salary, 15 days salary. But when it comes to the formula, I have directly applied the formula to avoid confusion. 15 days salary, 15 divided by 26, in the sense in a month 30 days, out of 30 days 4 Sundays. So by calculating that, generally there will be 4 Sundays, so 15 divided by 26. So this is the 15 days salary we should consider. Then maximum limit. So this is maximum limit which is allowed under the section 10 of subsection 10 of IT Act. Here maximum limit is 20 lakh. It means government given a provision that gratuity exemption should not go more than 20 lakh, should be limited to 20 lakh. To give the limit or to put a limit or to put a ceiling limit on this gratuity exemption, government employed or government introduced this maximum limit of 20 lakhs per employee per annum for 1 annum for 1 year. This is under Payment of Gratuity Act, covered under Payment of Gratuity Act. Then these are the few notes we should consider. Here one important thing we should or should consider is excess of service more than 6 months. If you are serving for more than 6 months, if you are working the organization for 10 years 7 months, then extra 1 month more than 6 months, it means extra 7 months you are working, that 7 months should be considered as one complete year. 5 years 7 months, 6 year 8 month, 7 year 9 month, all extra 1 year should be converted as 1 year. It means duration should be converted as 1 year. Example, 5 year 7 months, then his service will be 6 years. And if it is less than 6 months, if employee is working for 5 years 3 months, then in such cases that less than 6 months, it means that portion, it means less than 6 months should be ignored, only 5 years will be his service in the organization. Then when it comes to the not covered under the Payment of Gratuity Act, here the same act, but here employee if is not covered under the Payment of Gratuity Act, starting actual amount received by the employer as a gratuity, it remains same. And the first point here when it comes to the comparison, even though it is same, and here only second point which is given here, second point is change here. So second point, that is half. In the last previous format it was 15 divided by 26, here half. It means they mentioned only, it means in the provision they mentioned that 15 days salary. Now in the not covered under the Payment of Gratuity Act, here the provision tells that section 10 subsection 10 provision tells that it is half month salary. Actually when we think that 15 days salary and half month salary, it don't make any difference. When we calculate this 15 days salary means out of working days, only 26 days will be working days. Out of that 26 days, 15 days we should consider. Here irrespective of the days, number of working days, we should consider half month salary. So this is the main difference between the Payment of Gratuity Act format and not, it means Payment of Gratuity Act covered and not covered. Only these two main difference we should consider here. So this is a format, same, first point, second point, third point. Out of all these three, which amount is very minimum? Out of these three, which amount is very minimum? That much of amount is exempted under income tax provisions. Then these are the notes. Here, consider one more important thing. In the last format, in the last covered under the Payment of Gratuity Act, if it is fraction more than 6 months, should be 1 year, less than 6 months should be ignored. But here all fractions, any fractions are here, any kind of fraction should be ignored. Any fraction should be ignored. And consider salary. Salary should be a basic salary, which I'm highlighting here, and DNS pay, DNS allowance. But this DNS allowance should be part of retirement benefit, part of retirement benefit. Then commission, this is the commission. Commission, it is based on the percentage of turnover achieved by him. And here the limit is 20 lakh, the covered under the Payment of Gratuity Act, and in the not covered under the Payment of Gratuity Act. In both cases, limit is 20 lakh, which is fixed by the income tax provision, section 10, subsection 10 of Income Tax Act of 1961.